Let me guess you think I'm just another broken man with a mother complex and too much pride? That was the first thing he ever said to me. No handshake. No eye contact. Just sat down on my couch like it was his. I had been a licensed clinical psychologist in Portland for 7 years. My days were filled with helping couples navigate trust issues, teens wrestling with identity, and overworked professionals on the verge of burnout. But the moment Kai Rivera entered my office, I knew he would become the most difficult, most frustrating, and somehow the most unforgettable patient I had ever had. Kai was court-mandated to attend therapy after an altercation at a bar. Anger management officially, but it was clear from our first session that anger was only the tip of a much deeper iceberg. He never wore the same thing twice. Always dark colors. His tattoos peeked from under rolled-up sleeves. He sat with arms crossed, like he was daring me to dig. His laugh was dry, hollow, the kind that echoed with things left unsaid. And yet he kept staring at his eyes. They weren't angry. They were tired. "You don't talk much, do you?" he muttered during session 3.
"I listen, I replid."
Sounds lonely. That night, I stared at the ceiling longer than I should have. Why had that line hit me so hard? Week by week, Kai kept showing up. He never smiled, rarely answered questions directly, but he showed up. I learned small things. He was a mechanic, lived alone, didn't do birthdays, and hated being asked how he felt. "Feelings don't fix shit," he once snapped. "No," I said, "but ignoring them breaks more." Somewhere around our 8th session, something shifted. He didn't talk more exactly, but he stopped trying to leave early. His walls didn't fall, but he cracked a window. "I ever tell you my dad used to fix bikes with me?" he asked quietly, eyes fixed on a speck on the carpet. "No," I said, breath held. He always smelled like grease and beer, and every time I asked him what was wrong with the bike, he'd say, "Same thing that's wrong with you. Kid, too many parts rusted shut." My heart ached. Not professionally, personally. I was feeling something I shouldn't. I wanted to reach across the couch and take his hand. I didn't. Instead, I watched Kai rebuild himself, one painful story at a time. And I rebuilt the part of me that had forgotten what connection looked like. Then, everything exploded. It was early December. Rain tapping the windows. Session 16. Kai walked in, closed the door, and said, "I looked you up." My pulse stalled. "Excuse me? Your website. You help people with trauma. But there's nothing there about you. Who helps you?" I couldn't breathe for a moment. "This isn't about me, Kai." "Yeah, well, maybe that's your problem." He stormed out. I didn't see him for 3 weeks. Therapists aren't supposed to chase patients. Boundaries are sacred. But I found myself checking my email every hour, hoping he'd reschedule. I was haunted not just by worry, but by guilt. Because the truth was, he was right. I had spent years hiding behind notes and diagnoses, letting other people bleed while pretending I was whole. I hadn't been in a relationship since my fiancé left 5 years ago. I had built a career around healing others so I wouldn't have to face my own wounds.
Kai exposed me.
On New Year's Eve, my phone rang. Unknown number. "I'm outside," he said. I opened my door, and there he stood drenched, shaking, eyes red. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't want to go anywhere else." I let him in, not just into my home, into me. We talked. For hours. Not as doctor and patient but as Eli and Kai. He told me he hadn't been with anyone seriously since he was 19. That he didn't trust people who touched him without asking. That he was terrified I'd pity him. "I don't," I said. "I admire you. I care." "You're not allowed to say that," he said, voice trembling. "I'm not your therapist anymore." That was the night I kissed him. Slow, careful, like unwrapping a wound breath by breath. The next weeks were delicate. We were both cautious, carrying old hurts like glass. But it was the healthiest, most honest thing I'd ever felt. We communicated. We argued without cruelty. We asked for consent for everything. One night, lying beside me with his fingers grazing mine, Kai whispered, "You know what's weird?" "What?" "I think this is what love is supposed to feel like. Safe. He nodded. And steady, like I'm allowed to breathe. I smiled. It took us both too long to learn that. But happiness doesn't erase history. Kai still had his nightmares. I still flinched at the thought of vulnerability. We attended couples counseling, not because we were broken but because we respected what we were building. And that was new. In March, we walked hand in hand through Forest Park. Spring had begun its slow bloom. He stopped under a tree, turned to me and said, "You know that first day? When I asked if you thought I was just another broken man." I chuckled. Hard to forget. "I think I was hoping you'd say no." I cupped his face.
No, Kai.
"You were never broken. Just locked up too long." "And you?" he asked, leaning his forehead to mine. "You ever gonna stop hiding behind your books?" "I already did," I said. "The moment I met you." We kissed. There was no music, no fanfare, just two men in the middle of a quiet forest, learning that healing isn't about forgetting the past, it's about building something strong enough to carry it. And we did. Together. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.